Good morning, students. Welcome back to the lecture series of remote sensing. In previous lecture, we have talked about passive microwave remote sensing. In today's session, we will talk about active microwave remote sensing systems. So let's begin this session. Satellite sensors are capable of actively emitting microwaves towards the Earth's surface. An active microwave system transmits electromagnetic radiation of near constant power in the form of very short pulses. These pulses will be concentrated into a narrow beam which is used for remote sensing. Active microwave systems are capable of measuring the electromagnetic waves returned from the target after they undergo reflection and atmospheric attenuation. By the term atmospheric attenuation, I mean reduction in the radiation due to atmospheric particles like ice, ozone, water vapor, etc. Once we know the transmission and reception times of the outgoing and incoming waves, we can easily arrive at a map showing the return power within a three-dimensional space that comprises of all the sampling volumes. This technique is generally used to track aircraft, ships, and speeding automobiles. Active microwave systems can be either ground-based, that is weather radars, as an example, or can be satellite-based, for example, TRMM sensor on the satellite. In nature, the most commonly used type of active microwave sensor is a radar, which is acronym for radio detection and ranging. I am planning a separate session of radar also, which is already available and it will be shortly available to you. Radar means they have a widespread application in weather monitoring, coastal mapping, atmospheric study, hazard mitigation studies, etc. As the Earth's surface represents an interface between the refractive and a conducting medium, a thorough understanding of its interaction with the electromagnetic waves is essential in order to fully appreciate the detected signal. Without going into extreme details, this module discusses the principles of active microwave remote sensing systems. Some of the properties and applications of SAR, which is an active radar, is also been summarized. So, on what principle the active microwave remote sensing work? A radar system transmits very short pulses of electromagnetic radiation concentrated into a narrow beam at predetermined radial angles. It then measures the amount of power reflected back to the radar antenna backscattered from targets within the sampling volume as the pulse travels away from the radar. The difference between transmission and reception time of outgoing and incoming waves can be used to produce a map of return power in three-dimensional space involving all sampling volumes. If if P of R and P of T be the receiving and transmitted power, then the radar equation is shown at the top of the image as P of R equal to 10 raised to minus 20 and so on. Here, the G is for antenna gain. Antenna gain is a dimensionless quantity denoting ratio of power on beam axis to power from an isotropic antenna at some point. Theta is a half power beam width, and it is in radians. H is the pulse width in meter. Lambda is wavelength of the radar in centimeter. Z is the radar reflectivity factor, which is in unit millimeter mm raised to 6 upon meter cube. If n of d denotes the raindrop size distribution in a unit volume and d denotes the diameter of the raindrop, by definition the reflective factor can be expressed as proportional to the sixth moment of raindrop diameter. Now this is a complex thing. Okay, the equation which you are showing, which is seen on the screen, this smaller equation sigma of 0 is equal to sigma upon a, is known as radar backscattering coefficient. The radar backscattering coefficient is also important, where here the sigma is the radar cross section and sigma raised to 0 that is sigma degree actually. It denotes the radar backscatter coefficient. Radar backscatter coefficient depends on the target properties like roughness, dielectric constant, and on the radar characteristic like depression angle, frequency, polarization, etc. Radar backscatter is also affected by dielectric constant of target like soil. The depth of radar penetration through target like vegetation or soil will largely depend on frequency use. So, uh, this particular image, you can see the relationship of backscatter with respect to dielectric constant and vegetation. For example, the second image which you are seeing, one indicates the direct backscatter from plants at 3 cm, that is X band, the X band which I have shown you in the table in the previous session. Now the second is the direct backscatter from the soil, and the third is the plant or soil multiple scattering. So these three particular points has to be considered when we talk about acceleration with the scattering element. Secondly, the image which I have shown you previously, the this particular image which you are showing, it is available on the SciCCNY forum. Now this particular image shows you the backscatter with respect to vegetation, with respect to different type of soil, and with respect to dielectric constant. For example, desert, which is having a dry soil, have low dielectric constants. Grassland, forest, and tundra similarly have different type of dielectric constant. For example, saturated soil in grassland have high dielectric constant, while forest, of course, they have moist soil, do have a moderate dielectric constant, and some permafrost have a variable dielectric constant, and it varies with different type of geological location. So some of the radar parameters which are important when we talk about active microwave remote sensing. The first one is the azimuth direction. Azimuth direction denotes the direction of the aircraft or the orbital track of the satellite. Second comes with the range direction, which denotes the direction of the radar illumination, and it is usually perpendicular to the azimuth direction. Third one is the depression angle, which denotes the angle between the horizontal plane and the microwave pulse, as you are seeing in the image. The fourth one is the incident angle, which denotes the angle between the microwave pulse and the line perpendicular to the local surface slope. Then comes the polarization, as I already explained you earlier. It is one of the important parameter, one of the important parameters that the microwave electronics works. A simple electromagnetic wave will have an electric and magnetic field oscillating in mutual perpendicular direction. If we consider any point in space, the trajectory of the electric field vector will always trace an ellipse. Polarization is defined as the eccentricity orientation of this ellipse and the direction along which the vector rotates. Now let's talk about synthetic aperture radar. I have already also added it in the radar uh, lecture, but here we will go through a simple summarization of this art. Usually, a long radar antenna and a narrower beam width results in higher azimuth resolution. Hence, precise information regarding a particular object cannot be obtained. At the same time, placing a very large antenna in space can be very expensive. Hence, a technique which utilizes and relies on satellite motion and Doppler principles in order to artificially synthesize the impression of a long antenna so that finer resolution is obtained in azimuth direction. The system which uses this technology is known as synthetic aperture radar, which is also known as SAR system. As the radar moves in between two pulse transmissions, it becomes possible to combine all phases of all echoes and thereby synthesize the impression of a very large antenna array. A synthetic aperture radar is a space-borne side-looking radar system which relies on the flight path to simulate an extremely large antenna or aperture electronically. SAR processors store all radar return signals to the platform continues to move forward. As the radar measures distance to features in the slant range rather than using a true horizontal distance, radar images will be subjected to slant range distortion like foreshortening, layover, etc., which I'll discuss in this session later. In addition, backscatter from radar can be affected by surface properties over a range of local incident angles. For example, incident angles of 0 degree to 30 degree topographic slope determines the radar backscatter. For angles 30 to 70 degree, surface roughness dominates. Consequently, for angles greater than 70 degree, radar shadows dominate the image. Another important point while talking about synthetic radar SR is the geometric characteristics. Consider a tall feature tilted towards the radar, for example a mountain. When radar beam reaches the base, as you can see here, when radar beam reaches the base of this tall feature, before it reaches top, the radar ends up measuring the distance using slant range, which will appear compressed with the length of the slant feature being misrepresented. This error is called foreshortening. Layover is the error occurring when return signal of radar from top of the target is received well before the signal from the bottom. Another effect prominent in radar image is the shadowing effect, which increases with an increase in the incident angle. Unlike shadows in photography, radar shadows are completely black and are sharp defined. Following the radar shadow, a relatively weak response will be recorded from the terrain that is not oriented towards the sensor. So what are the application of SAR? Synthetic aperture radar is mainly used in synthetic aperture radar interferometry, that is also known as INSAR. So SAR imagery is created by processing of microwave energy registered at an airborne or satellite-borne antenna. The backscattered energy from target, that is Earth's surface material, changes the phase and amplitude of an outgoing microwave energy. SAR instruments are capable of recording the intensity or phase of the written pulses of energy, and for this reason, they are also known as coherent. Interferometric SAR on INSAR uses the phase differences between the written pulses received by two separate SAR antenna in order to construct a pixel by pixel elevation map of ground surface. Both the antenna can either be carried by a single platform leading to a single pass interferometry, or the signal can be measured at a position A. For example, signal measured at position A on one orbit and at another position A1 on another orbit, leading to repeat pass interferometry. The raw interferometry is usually represented in the form of an image containing repeated set of fringe patterns, wherein each fringe represents a single phase difference cycle of 2 pi radians. Each individual fringe is displayed using a complete color cycle. It should be understood that this row interferogram must be corrected before using it to estimate the surface elevation values. Sometimes, if the phase difference is measured in terms of an angular range of 2 pi radians, that is 180 degree, then phase difference must be unwrapped by the addition of appropriate multiples of 2 pi before extracting elevation details. This step is essentially called as phase unwrapping, and its implementation is very difficult. Another issue that the interferometry of a completely flat area has a can be formed is that we always face a fringe pattern. Fringe pattern is parallel to the flight direction. This pattern is essentially caused due to Earth's curvature. It is required to remove this flat Earth fringe pattern before these fringes can be calibrated in terms of elevation. The quality of DEM models, that is elevation models, based on INSAR is affected by a number of factors like uh, system characteristics, baseline length, terrain characteristics, and processing parameters. Also, radar shadow overlay and foreshortening can be provided additional problems. For more detailed discussion on the geometric factors that influence our interferometry, you can consider some literature available by Jens and Van Genderer. The current some of the examples of SR interferometry, the United States Shuttle Radar Topographic Mission (SRTM) used the signal path interferometric approach to create global digital elevation model, that is DEM, at 30-meter and 90-meter resolution respectively. Single pass interferometry offer advantages that target area is viewed by both the antenna at virtual identical atmospheric conditions. The topic of INSAR imaginary processing will however not be discussed in this session. Application of differential INSAR range from movement of crustal plates associated with volcanic activity, land subsidence, movement of glacier and ice streams, ocean currents, to elevation modeling among the various wavelengths within the microwave spectrum. The X and L band are more capable of producing better quality elevation models, as a decrease in wavelength is known to be accompanied with an increase in height sensitivity. The other factors sensitive to height are incidence angle and slant ridge distance. Now, the second application is the soil moisture content. Dielectric constant of water is the property which determines the propagation characteristics of an electromagnetic wave, wherein the square root of dielectric constant gives the index of refraction for the material. Whenever waves encounter a boundary between two different media, this contrast determines the reflection and transmission coefficient of the electromagnetic wave at the boundary. The microwave sensing of soil moisture is dependent on the contrasting values of dielectric constant between water, that is 87, and that of dry soil, that is 3.5 approximately. This is because of the electric dipole of water molecules tend to align itself with the electric field of microwave frequency. When we consider frozen water, that is ice, this motion gets inhibited at about 104 Hz, that is 104 Hz, as the water molecules are bound when frozen. Microwaves have the capability of penetrating up to a few centimeters of bare soil. This property can be utilized to estimate soil moisture content, which is apparent at longer wavelengths. The dielectric constant for water is at least 10 times as that of a dry soil. Variation of soil's dielectric constant with respect to soil moisture content tends to produce variation in soil emissivity from 0.95 for dry soils to 0.6 or less for wet soils. These variations can be well captured by both active and passive microwave sensors. The passive sensors observe variations in thermal emission from soil due to emissivity changes. One thing to note is that microwave frequencies are capable to sense soil moisture up to 5 cm thickness. Microwave remote sensing uses passive sensors that have great potential to estimate soil moisture, which is with a good temporal resolution on a regional scale. At this case, passive microwave radiation penetrates vegetation canopies, wherein vegetation absorbs and reflects part of this radiation from the soil surface. Third application of SAR is in flood control. The inability of cloud penetration is the single important disadvantage of optical remote sensing. The use of imagery, particularly radar images, circumvent this problem because radar pulse can penetrate cloud cover. The most common approach for flood management is the usage of synthetic aperture radar (SAR) imagery simultaneously with optical remote sensing imagery. In radar image, thresholding is normal and it is normally employed to segregate flooded areas from non-flooded areas. Change detection techniques are also used as powerful tools to detect flood inundated area within SAR imagery by comparing two imagery taken before and after flood. SAR imageries acquired on multiple dates can be used to create a false color composite. Presence of vegetation or food cover offer obstacle to accurate identify inundated areas using SAR image. It relies on the fact that flooded forests tend to produce a bright radar backscatter in contrast to non-flooded forest. Generally, flooded areas without any vegetation cover appear dark with SAR imageries. In urban areas, due to the effect of trees, estimation of inundation within these areas is difficult to conduct. The viewer's ability to segregate flooded areas depends on a combination of wavelength, incidence angle, and polarization. Several flood related indices are derived by researchers using a ratio of horizontal and vertical polarization. Images from RadarSat 1 are preferred more than the images from ERS for flood mapping, as the former is capable of rotating its sensor, disseminating the radar signal at different incidence angles. Recent studies of flood mapping uses the advantage of both optical and microwave remote sensing technologies for improved interpretation. Another application is in the detection of oil spill. Microwave remote sensing application involve monitoring of ocean pollution. Oil slicks over the ocean surface dampen the Bragg waves, thereby reducing the radar backscatter coefficient. Light components of the oil tend to evaporate to the atmosphere, where the rate of evaporation is dependent on the oil type, spill thickness, and wind speed and sea temperature. The main challenge in oil spill detection using microwave remote sensing is to determine oil slicks from other natural phenomena that similarly dampen the short waves and create dark patches. There are essential termed look-alikes. The use of multiple frequency and multipolarization signature can be used in a discrimination algorithm to differentiate between oil spills and false alarm templates. In addition to oil slicks, different kinds of pollution can cause slicks such as diesel, fish oil, controlled chemical spills, and many others. However, SAR sensor is unable to distinguish between these different pollutants. One thing to note is the oil slicks get visible in SAR images only for a limited range of wind speeds. Another application of SAR is biomass estimation. Vegetation canopies can act as volume scatters to radar waves. Some waves can penetrate through the thick vegetation canopies, and if the radar wavelength is approximately equal to the mean size of plant component, then the volume scattering will be strong. Generally, over a dense plant canopy, the backscatter obtained will be strong. Broadly speaking, wavelengths in the range of 2 to 6 cm are considered best for sensing crops. Crops like corn, soya beans, wheats, and many others, and some of the tree leaves. This is because at this wavelength, volume scattering will predominate more than the surface scattering from the underlying soil. For the detection of tree trunk limbs, wavelength of 10 to 30 cm are considered best. In addition to plant size and radar wavelength, the moisture content of vegetation also affects the radar backscatter. Greater moisture content in vegetation increases the dielectric constant, which in turn increases the reflectivity of the crop surface. In other words, leaves with higher moisture content produce radar backscatter, which is greater than dry leaves of the same species. Moving further, let's talk about the errors which are generated in a radar. Images captured using active remote sensing like radar images will usually be subjected to numerous errors, some of which are discussed here. The first one in the list is the speckle error. Microwave signals backscatter from the Earth's surface when registered by a sensor can be either in phase or out of phase by varying degrees. The intensity changes will be attributed to the atmospheric attenuation effects of scattering, reflection, absorption, etc. The phase changes are normally caused due to the target properties. This alteration in signals will lead to a pattern of brighter and darker pixels in radar images, which gives them a grainy appearance, and this is known as speckle. Speckle is reduced using image processing techniques such as filtering in the spatial domain or averaging, etc. One such technique is multiple look processing, wherein independent images of the same area are generated and then averaged so as to produce a smoother image. If n be the number of statistically independent images being averaged, then the amount of speckle will be inversely proportional to the square root of this value. For example, a 4-look image will have a resolution cell that is 4 times larger than a 1-look image. Hence, major factor contributing to the overall quality of the radar image are the number of looks and resolution of a system. Second error is the variation in brightness. Microwave images, especially those from the SAR, usually contain a gradient in image brightness values in the range direction of the image. There are two reasons for this variation. Firstly, the size of the ground resolution cell decreases from near range to a far range, and secondly, radar backscatter is inversely proportional to local incident angle. This means that radar images will become darker with increasing range. This will be more pronounced in airborne radar system with large range of look angles than space-borne system. Mathematical models are usually used to correct this effect. The third in the list is the relief displacement. Relief displacement is a characteristic feature predominantly seen in the side-looking radar, that is called SLR imagery. Whenever a radar pulse encounters a vertical terrain feature, the top of the feature is often reached before the base. Hence, the return signals from the top of the vertical feature will tend to reach the radar antenna before the base of the feature. As a direct consequence, it causes the vertical feature to overlay the closer feature, thereby making it appear to lean towards the nadir. The effect is termed as Liouvre effect, which will be more severe at near range. Another effect commonly observed in radar images is the foreshortening effect. Whenever the slope facing a radar antenna is less steep than the line perpendicular to the look direction, layover does not occur. Then the slope of the surfaces won't be presented in its true size. This effect becomes more predominant as the slope steepness approaches perpendicularity to the look direction. Sometimes radar imagery will be affected by another characteristics feature known as radar shadow, wherein the slope facing away from the radar antenna will return weak signals or no signals at all. So students, before ending this session, there are some of the topics which I would like to talk. For example, radar remote sensing from space. Several satellites have successfully made possible radar remote sensing from space, like the experimental space-borne system CSAT-1 and the 3 shuttle imaging radar system SIR-A, SIR-B and SIR-C. Characteristics regarding these instruments are tabulated below from the, not in the slideshow, but the material which I will share with you. In that material, I will add some of the satellite characteristics, sensor characteristics regarding radar. Some of the European Space Agency's launched vehicle remote sensing satellites like ERS-1, followed by ERS-2, and another things like resolution and advanced synthetic aperture radar systems onboarding, how C and Q bands are used, and etc. So this topic I have discussed in this session or in this session because those are the topics which are important in further studying, but can be avoided in this lecture sessions. So hope you have enjoyed this session and have a nice day, have a safe day, happy learning. Thank you for your patience.